I think that class was really good for our communication. We'd always been kind of struggling with our communication, and that kind of just was mind-blowing to us. It's like, wow, she is different and I'm different, and we just don't understand each other very well sometimes. And I think that marriage class, we had a lot of breakthroughs in that marriage class. We've had tons of breakthroughs in the marriage classes.
You're listening to the Favorite Marriage Podcast, a place where you and your spouse can experience God's favor on your forever. Join us as we explore relevant topics and provide practical tools for your marriage toolbox. Enjoy this week's episode of The Favorite Marriage. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Favorite Marriage Podcast. We are your hosts, Monty and Jeannine Mora, and this is a podcast for couples who want to gain tools for their marriage toolbox. And we're excited about this episode because we have some very special guests with us on the show today, Mr. Chris and Jennifer Lancaster. We are going to be hearing an amazing story that they're going to share. And so today we are excited to have you on the show. Thank you guys for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yep, thanks for having us.
So we know Chris and Jennifer from church, and we asked them to be our marriage leader assistants last year, right? You guys have been doing this for about
it's been a year.
two semesters now?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So they started attending the marriage classes at Restoration Church, and we just seen God doing an amazing work in them, and they became assistants, and here they are now, and they have such a great story to share.
Well, thank you guys for being on the Favorite Marriage Podcast. We believe that your story is going to impact many marriages as they hear what you guys have to share. So let's get started. Right. Chris, Jennifer, tell us, how did you guys hook up? What was the beginning of your love story?
Well, we met at 14 at a roller skating rink. He walked in and I was like, that's mine. But yeah, we were together for about a year and a half, and then he moved away, and we kept in touch, and we got back in touch, and finally I chased him down and said, gotcha.
Yep. 10 years later, you got back in touch, and
Amazing.
And the rest is history. When I first met her, I was like, this girl's crazy and more out of control and crazy than I was, and that was a first, so yeah.
I told him at 15 that I was going to marry him.
Really?
Yep. He looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
I did look at her like she was crazy, but I knew in the back of my mind, for some reason, she was right.
Yeah. So you guys were like teenage sweethearts, right?
Kids.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Swapping candy at the skating rink. And
Swapping candy.
What else were you swapping?
Well, that's how it started. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Nice.
That's crazy. So you set a goal, Jen, and you went and you put that in front of you and you chased after it.
Yep.
Like no turning back.
Nope.
It was Chris in your eyes from day one.
You got it.
That's amazing. I love that.
So how old were you guys when you got married? You met at 14?
27.
27?
27 when we got married.
Okay.
Yep.
So you dated all the way from 14 years of age all the way to 27?
No, so we dated from about 14 to 15.
Yeah, for about a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Okay.
And then I moved away, and then she came out to visit me about 10 years later, 10 years after that.
Yep.
And went back home and grabbed all her stuff and moved right back out.
Wow.
So
did you guys keep in contact during all those years when you were apart?
For 10 years, yeah. Letters, phone calls,
Okay.
long distance phone calls, So,
That was a commitment.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's what we love about the podcast is all the different love stories of how people have fell in love. I mean, we've had ours, and you guys have yours, and that's what we love about the beauty of the show, the beauty of just your marriage relationship. Now, I know you guys got married at 27. You've been married how long now?
21 years.
Okay, and you got some kids? Talk about the kids.
we got some kids for sure. They are 15 and 13. We have a 15-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son, and they are both giving us a run for our money for sure, but I think that's how God strengthens us. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
Definitely agree.
Yeah.
So there
you're in
was-
the parenting thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say this. So there was some time that you had just together before you guys started having kids.
Yeah.
So that was good. So walk us through like that transition. Like you guys were together for a while, and then were you guys trying to have kids during that time, or did you plan on having kids so many years after you were married? Kind of walk us through that journey.
Oh no, we were definitely trying from the beginning.
Yeah.
We definitely wanted to have kids. I think God knew we weren't ready. That's why it took us a lot longer to have them. But yeah, we definitely wanted to have kids, and we're trying from the beginning. So we've been back together for about 25 years.
yep. Yeah, we weren't saved till after we got married, so we were having premarital relations, and
Premarital relations meaning tasting the forbidden fruit.
yes.
Okay,
yes.
just making sure.
Yes, exactly. So, but we didn't know.
Yeah, of
We didn't
course.
know
better,
about that.
right.
Yeah, we didn't have any idea. So, yeah, and yeah, I think we were pretty crazy and wild back then, and I think God was kind of trying to let us grow up before
that
we,
makes sense.
which was probably a good thing, because I don't think we would have ever made it, unless it was God's plan. And
Right.
Yeah. We know that every marriage has those challenges in their
Yeah,
life.
for sure.
What do you all think has been your biggest or greatest challenge in your marriage so far? And how did you all overcome that challenge?
Our kids, raising the kids, I think, is our biggest challenge, and has been. But we work on it day by day, and now that we got a little bit of better communication, that I think it's getting better. We're still working on it, though.
yeah, I think we have such different parenting styles, and at the beginning, I never even realized that your spouse comes before children. So I had always placed the children in front of her, and then I found out as we got into church and into the ministries and stuff like that that was the complete opposite way. And then things started to gradually change, and still a work in progress, but yeah, we're actually doing some growing now, which is good.
That is such a common misconception in marriages, is that like once you have the kids, it's all about the kids. It's all about the kids. I mean, I feel like we fell into that as well. And that's very common when we sit across couples and we're doing coaching. That comes up a lot. So when you realize that and you begin to put your wife first, talk to us about that transition. Like, how did you feel, Jen, before and after? And then like, really, what did the Lord share with you, Chris, as far as like what you needed to do, and like, maybe share with us what he put upon your heart that really changed, what made you make that change?
Well, I think for me it was I felt left out, maybe. And I never was. I mean, he was always, still there for me and that kind of stuff. But I think I felt behind, I guess, a little bit. I felt like the kids always got a little extra daddy or, Chris than I did. But definitely when he changed that, and now it's, I feel like I'm on the top of the world. Like I feel on a pedestal.
Yeah. Getting
Ready to
better,
cry.
getting better at it. It's definitely when I first realized that, it was in a marriage ministry class, and it kind of shocked me, because she had always been telling me, you need to put me first, and I was like, no, we have to put the kids first. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, I'm going about this the complete wrong way. And it didn't change instantly,
Sure.
because I love my children and I love my wife, of course, but it took time, to kind of keep, and even now, I still have to put the two together. You got to have time for the kids, but more importantly, time for my wife. She's the number 2 thing on my list, so I have to keep that priority right.
Yeah. And of course, God being number one.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yep. God number one.
Yeah. At what point in your marriage did you see God like really show up and give you that breakthrough? That like, what was that turning point for your marriage? How did God reveal himself in that way for you guys?
I think when we started going to church, I mean, it's been gradual and it just shows up more and more and more. And when we look back, you can see the times that you didn't think there was anything there helping you, but he was there and he made the path every time. Every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now looking back, you see all of the instances, millions of them, where you're just like, man, now I can see, what the Lord has done and has been doing. I mean, for the longest time. Yeah, I think for our relationship, I think the Lord, we were crazy, partying, and even as we had kids, we were still partying, and I think for me, I was a heavy drinker. I would almost consider myself like a functioning alcoholic, a young functioning alcoholic.
Okay.
And I had prayed for at least 3 years for the Lord to help me with the drinking. And after the first year, I was like, man, the Lord's not hearing my prayer. He's not hearing my prayer. But then finally, about 2.5, 3 years later, I stopped drinking, and it's amazing how the Lord works. He's patient, and we want it now, but he's real patient, and he has a reason for that. So I think that was a big step for both of us, to just kind of get out of that. And I mean, I think that was one of the biggest ways that the Lord has affected me personally and our relationship, I think.
Yeah, another misconception couples have is when they feel like they're at their wits' end when their marriage, and then they say, "Oh, we need to start going to church," right? So people come to church, that hospital. That's what the church is for, is those sick people who need the church. But then they think it's just going to be better right away, right? And I know that was not your story, right? You have had some really rough patches, even attending church and walking through your own journey with Christ. So tell us how you don't give up. Like, what has caused you to stick it out in ministry? Because you guys also do ministry and children's ministry, right? You guys volunteer in there. What has kept you in church and moving forward, even despite some of those rough patches?
I don't know. I think that it's just the love that we have for each other, to be honest. And then I love going to church. I mean, it's something, before I never really knew what it was. And now I feel, if I miss Sunday, I'm like, oh, what happened? I missed, Sunday. And then, of course, we do Tuesdays. And then sometimes we do the Wednesday night, But, helping the kids being there. It's just, I think that's one of the biggest things, is just the love we have for each other, and I guess for the Lord as well.
Yeah. I think for me, just the evidence that we've seen, the Lord working in our life, from the beginning. We were a long ways away from being a godly couple, and just seeing all of the different ways that he's worked in us and just continue to help us grow and bring joy and happiness back into our lives, and kind of show us how to actually be a married couple, and instead of just rumbling and stumbling down the road,
Yeah.
So I think that in itself just kind of is an exciting thing, because I always say it's the proof in the pudding, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we were and how and where we are now is just a dramatic difference.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it sounds like community. The community that you found in the church has really helped you through some rough times.
yeah.
And I think that's so important. That's why we always encourage couples to get involved, and we push them to do ministry in the church. You don't have to be perfect. And I think people feel like, oh, if I'm going to church, I just have to concentrate on me and my marriage, because that's what's so needy right now. But you guys served through those rough patches. You continued to go to children's ministry. You worked with the youth as well, right?
Yep.
And now you're pouring into marriages. So I think that's just a powerful testimony of putting in the work in God's house. It's like you're planting seeds. And that's what I've seen with you guys. You've continued to plant seeds in children's ministry and youth ministry, now in marriage ministry. And you're not perfect. You guys have been the first to say that. We're not perfect. But when you plant those seeds and you do God's work, you see the fruit, and you guys are seeing the fruit. We're seeing the fruit in them now. So just encouragement to couples out there. If you're in church and doing church, that's amazing. But if you are finding yourself in a place where you're still struggling just in your family, in your marriage, maybe try planting some seeds and serve in ministry, because I've seen how that's been a blessing to you guys.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying, and what I just heard you both say. It goes back to our motto that we have with the favorite marriage. It's keep showing up, and you guys have kept showing up. You've kept showing up to church. You kept showing up for each other, and when you keep showing up, we know that God also shows up to meet us there. James talks about when draw near to God, and he draws near to us. But Chris, real quick, I want you to share with our audience a story about a friend of ours, a common friend, Dave Johnston. And there was this time where you were coming to church. You guys were making it, and you got a little argument, and you ended up doing what? Tell us, walk our listeners through that story.
So it is a funny story because so many times, and it's almost blatantly obvious that the enemy does this, and not just to us, to everybody, but on the way to church, we got into arguments a lot of times, if not every time, but a lot of times. And on this one particular time, it got pretty heated and pretty bad, and to the point where we're pulling up into the church parking lot, and there's just no way that I could just walk in this church and put on a mask and be okay. And so I just got out of the car and started walking down the road, and unbeknownst to me, my wife had gone in and talked to Pastor Dave, and sure enough, a couple minutes later, Pastor Dave pulls up and looks at me and says, "Hop on in." Turn around and drive back to church, and he got us into some counseling with him, and pretty wild how things happen. The Lord uses everything for sure. So
yeah, it was one crazy car ride to church one morning, but you got there.
Yes,
you showed up.
Yep. We got there for sure.
A good job for telling on your husband. Sometimes we have to tell on our husbands, or our husbands have to tell on their wives.
To the right people.
To the right people, of course. Yeah. But there's times when you just can't do it on your own, right? You need a little help. Yep. And thank God for those people who will step up and help us.
Yeah. So one other question I got from my mind's just going today. So you guys have come a very, very long way, and Jeannine and I have been a witness to your growth in marriage, and now you serve alongside of us in marriage ministry. But what does intimacy look like today compared to how it looked when you guys were first married? So it could be spiritual intimacy, emotional intimacy, even physical intimacy. How has that changed for you guys?
Wow. Which way do you want to go?
You want me to start, or?
You can start if you want.
So physically, I don't think anything in our relationship has changed. You agree?
Except for finding time now with kids.
Yeah.
But we do make it happen.
We're pretty creative as far as the physical part, but I think the most important part is that spiritually we're becoming more intimate and learning about each other, and that makes the physical part even that much more fun and better. So I think now that we're using God as our guide and our leader. He's showing us how to grow together and just have more fun and starting to enjoy life the way that we should be living. And
Like every morning, I get up and we kind of do the breakfast thing for him before he goes to work. And we always read a scripture together before he goes off to work. And let me tell you, that has made a game changer for us. It makes my day because I get that minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe with him where it's just him and I and reading that scripture. And then when he, love you, kiss goodbye, and makes my day so much better. I mean, I don't know if that's the same for you, but
yeah, it definitely sets the tone for the day and makes things a lot better.
Yep.
I love that. And it doesn't have to be like a 30-minute Bible study, right? It's just, it's that connection with God and with your spouse. I love it.
Yeah. I love the spiritual intimacy part. I mean, the connection, and we did a whole podcast on how a couple can grow with spiritual intimacy. Yeah. And one of the things was just reading scripture in the morning, praying together, things like that. But couples don't realize how important spiritual intimacy impacts all other forms of intimacy inside of a marriage, right? Like you guys just said.
Yeah.
And I don't find that odd because I think that's the way God created it. It should be that way, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, I know so.
Yeah.
We've been a witness to it as well.
Yeah, the foundation.
Yeah.
It seems like it's the foundation to all of those things.
Yeah. And I think the hardest thing for people, anybody is getting started. If you've got that marriage and even if you're just getting to know God, it's hard to start that. But once you start it, it becomes natural. And, last night we were talking and about Revelations, kind of just in a little thing. And he brought his Bible out and sat down and he read me some stuff and we were kind of chatting about it, which we would never have done that before. It was just, it's really cool because then we both have our own little, talks and think about, what's really going on in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our curiosity, we all have questions and it's nice to be able to kind of come to each other, and kind of dig in and find the answers to these things. And we would have never have done that in the past.
Yeah.
So,
Talking about getting started, you shared with us that when you started coming to church, you got into like different counseling with different people, and there was just this cycle that you guys weren't getting anywhere. And then I believe those were all seeds planted, and then they were watered. But then at some point, I think when you started some of the classes that we were offering just recently in the last 3 years, couple years, it was then that made that click. Like, talk to us about that. Like, why did it take so long? I think you've shared that a little bit with us. So talk to our listeners about that.
Well, I definitely think to say that if you're not ready to make that change, it's not going to happen. I mean, you and your spouse have to be ready together. And as I said, if you're not ready, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, we had a lot of selfishness, a lot of pride, and
Definitely
had quite a few visits with counselors and with them telling us that you guys gotta stop playing the blame game, and that's all we really wanted to do. We wanted to just keep playing the blame game. We were going to church and doing all these things and volunteering, but we just had so much pride and selfishness in us that we were just hitting a brick wall every time.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think we kind of made a breakthrough and was like, hey, let's stop trying to kill each other. And
I think that it was also too knowing that we're two different people, that we see things differently, and that right there is a big thing, because we wouldn't communicate very well. We'd be butting heads because I'm trying to tell him, you're not listening to what I'm saying.
If you would just listen to her, Chris.
Exactly, right?
And then I found out, from one of your classes that I wear pink glasses, he wears blue glasses. It's a completely different dialogue. Like, he could say the same thing to you, and you're like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But he says it to me, and I'm like, what are you saying? It sounds like a foreign language to me, I guess. But once I learned that, now we stop and we talk a little bit better, and we communicate like, okay, well, wait a minute. Is this what you're saying, or is this what you're saying? So we now know that there is a difference, and we just got to kind of pull it out of each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think that class was really good for our communication. We'd always been kind of struggling with our communication, and that kind of just was mind blowing to us. You know, it's like, wow, she is different and I'm different, and we just don't understand each other very well sometimes. And I think that marriage class, we had a lot of breakthroughs in that marriage class. We've had tons of breakthroughs in the marriage classes, but that one was a pretty big one.
And
for
neither
sure.
one of us are wrong. We're just different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's I love circling back to what you guys were talking about, seeking some marriage counseling, and then of course even Pastor Dave coming in and trying to get you guys some help. And you had mentioned one other counselor basically told you guys, we can't counsel you anymore because you're just blaming each other way too much. And we have married couples have come into our counseling, our coaching, and they would say, you're our third counselors, or you're our fifth counselors, or 20th counselors, and everybody has quit on us and given up on us. But Jennifer, you said something so important about being ready. And the married couple must be ready, both, to make the changes, to put in the work. Because if one is and one isn't, and there's not that readiness, and you guys said yourself, like you had been through several different people trying to get you to a point of health, but there was a point where you both said, hey, we are ready for this. God, we're ready. I'm ready for this. And that's when the real change began to take place, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think too, when we put God first, when we really actually made the umbrella, we always, God, was always there with us. But I think when we actually put him on top and made him the center of all, I think that's when we both said, oh, I think it's time to work on our marriage, to be honest. And I think
the Lord just kept leading us to this place and was saying, okay, here's this challenge for you. Let's see how you do it. And we would fail, and he would just keep leading us back until after 1,000,000 times, we finally were just like, okay, let's really try to make a difference in our relationship. We want to do this. Let's do it, and started putting in the real effort. I mean, you have to put in the work. Yeah. It's like an athlete or, a boxer or whatever. You gotta train yourself, and you gotta strengthen yourself in these places, and that's the thing I think with couples is we're so unprepared, in life. And we were definitely unprepared, and now that we have these tools and know how to strengthen ourselves, it makes a world of difference. And it's nice to kind of see us getting some traction and moving. So
it's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah, thank God for his grace, right?
Yeah.
His patience with us.
Yeah. If you guys have shared a lot, and I think many marriages are going to be able to resonate with what you guys have shared in your story, especially about not giving up and being ready. So after all these years of marriage, you're in the thick of raising teenage kids right now. There are married couples out there today hearing your story, hearing what we're having to say. What would be some nuggets, some advice that you would give to some married couples out there today, from Chris and Jennifer Lancaster advice? What would you say to these couples?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I would tell them to take some classes. I know a lot of places offer like a marriage class before you get married, and I really think that would have been something beneficial for us. People are like, I don't need that. It's cool to see what they have to say, at least. I mean, whether you take it or not, but I would definitely tell you to take some classes, or, or meet with somebody, or like an older couple that, you look up to that have been married for a long time. Maybe they have some advice for you before you jump in and get your feet wet, because you start drowning after a while in the beginning if you don't, I wish we would have had those classes before we got married. I think it would have made a difference, to be honest.
I agree 100%. I think first, you need to put the Lord first, And until you do that, you're going to be struggling and tripping all over the place. Second, understand that your wife is the number 2 most important thing in your life. And then 3, I would say the same thing. The classes, even if you have God at the center, your marriage is great. I think what has helped us to just keep moving forward and sustaining our relationship is the constant being around people, being in those classes. The classes always have something that somebody's going to share with you, or that the class itself can share with you. And I think it just kind of, it's almost like a date as well. You're working on each other, and you kind of get to grow together. And without these classes and
I think
these
community,
people,
too.
the community for sure.
Definitely
Yeah.
getting with the community of people that
Yeah.
are like-minded and you like that you have. You want to put yourself with people that surround yourself with people that are, what you're looking for, and
Trying to do the same thing. Yeah.
That definitely seems to be the vein, that the strong vein in your relationship is that community that has driven you guys to where you're at. I've heard you say that from the beginning when you just were looking for somewhere to go and you found yourself in the foyer of Restoration Church, and ever since then you guys have been involved. So community is so important.
Yeah.
Do you think you guys would have made it if you didn't have community around you?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
No way.
I would have probably been the girl sitting by his door crying that I wanted him back, but I don't know if we would have made it, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have made it. God puts all of these things in its place, and for a reason. So
I definitely want to tell you that when you first start in church, you think, oh, everybody's going to be all lovey and like me, and this is going to be great. It's not always like that. You gotta be ready to put yourself out there, because everybody there is in kind of sometimes the same boat you are or not.
Sure.
So you need to be that friendly face sometime. I mean, I swear when I first went out, I thought, oh, everybody's gonna be so nice to me, and I felt, oh, nobody So you have to be that that friendly person, as well. And then once you all get together, then you can kind of start working with each other and helping and being there for each other.
understanding that everybody's
Going
going through the same thing, and it's a church.
And we're a family.
Yeah.
And just like families, we are all different. We all have different personalities, different ways of doing things. And we're seeing that, in our marriage community that we're building, and it's great. It's not, like you said, it's not always going to be, the best. There will be the rubbing of shoulders. But that's where you got to run to.
Yeah.
Is the people who are going to direct you back to the one where to God, where you need to be. You want to be around people who are going to put you back on the path of righteousness, on the path that is going to direct you to the plan of God for your marriage.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I think God uses each and every one of those people to help everybody that's in there, the children, in some kind of way. He uses them. Just every person in there is there to help in some kind of way, and the Lord uses that, and it's amazing. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's have some fun with them.
Yeah.
Unless you had something else to say.
No, I just want one more thing to say. And you all are saying it, but I just want to kind of put an exclamation mark on it. And it's the importance of having mentor couples in your life. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
We had mentor couples in our life, and still do today. And you guys have had mentor couples in your life. And that is so important. And many people think mentor couples, they're having a couple in your life, another married couple who's maybe has a little bit more years under their belt, more mature, can be that guide couple for you, right? That example. And I'm hearing a combination of having those in our lives has been a huge success for our marriage. Just speaking of our two marriages. And so for our audience out there, if you have not had some type of mentor couple in your own life, man, we would highly encourage you to find somebody that you can look up to and take out to dinner and say, hey, we want you to invest into our marriage relationship, because that is going to be essential for the success of your marriage relationship. And so,
Definitely.
yeah. So let's have some fun now. Okay,
Now
rapid
we can
fire.
have
Yes.
fun? Okay.
You guys ready?
All right,
I
guys.
guess.
All right. What is... Okay.
Now I'm nervous.
I know, right?
Okay. Who is the better cook?
I think I'm probably the better cook, but she's becoming the better cook.
Yeah, I didn't know how to cook when I first met him. I was, I ate out with my parents all the time, and he had to cook, so he taught me how to cook. So
Oh, fun.
now I do most of the cooking, but I think he's still a better cook than I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Very good. Okay, my turn. Who's the morning person and who's the night owl?
I'm the morning person.
Okay.
I'm the night owl, but unfortunately, I have to get up early in the morning. So
You'd rather stay up at night, though?
it's easier for me to stay up at night, but it's also easier for me to sleep in. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I could sleep till about 10 o'clock and be like, oh, I have to get out of bed. But
What is your favorite worship song as a couple?
We have two of them, but I think our biggest one would be Mountains Move.
Mountains Move by Lauren Daigle.
Yeah.
And then
Good
like
song.
my favorite is I Am Redeemed by Big Daddy
Yes.
Weave.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And then also
that.
some Crowder. God Really Loves Us is
Yeah, we
It's
like a
amazing.
lot of Christian songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
This would be our top.
That's good that you
Yeah.
guys knew that.
Okay, final question. Who would survive longer on a deserted island?
He definitely would, honestly. I mean, if I had him there, I'd be
You'd be
just
good
fine.
too, yeah?
I'd be good. But he would.
if I was there, you'd outlast me, is what you're saying.
No, I would just be okay being on the desert island with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't last myself.
Yeah, that's good partnership right there. Yeah,
That's what I say. But he definitely.
that is so good.
Yep.
Awesome stuff, man. Thank you guys for coming and sharing your story with our audience today. Man, we all know that no marriage is the same. There's no one size fits all when it comes to marriage, as you have heard today. And you're going to be hearing many different stories over the summer months as we're titling them Love Stories, how different marriages or different couples have different marriages. And so we'd like to thank you guys for being on the show today. If you haven't had an opportunity to like, subscribe, or write a review on the Favorite Marriage Podcast, we'd appreciate if you would do that. We also have our YouTube channel. So if you are hearing this and you'd like to see us live in action, you can go to our YouTube channel and check us out there. And until next time, we just want to say thank you for hanging out with us on the Favorite Marriage Podcast. And like always, we pray that you would experience God's favor.
On your forever.